Hello, and thank you for tuning into the Stuff I Heard podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Peak. Uh, we happen to be on the 1st of May. So all of the jokes with Justin Timberlake, it's going to be May, is all out there. Um, we've got a few days until May the 4th be with you, which is always one of my favorites. I got to change my calendar over. I've been looking at Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka at April the whole month. I'm kind of curious what May is. I kind of want to flip it over just so I can talk about it. So, a couple things. How's everybody doing? You guys okay? I've done a few mental health check-in type podcasts lately with some folks, and I've kind of put it out there of, what I wanted to talk about, what I wanted to express to the community as far as, building community, talking about mental health, talking about what's going on, talking about how it relates to some of the things we see on television or, various forms of entertainment that we have. I think during the podcast with Matthew Tarleton, if you guys haven't heard that, check it out. It's 354. It's the last podcast. We talked about one of the things that we realized about movies with superheroes or with super abilities is the tie-in is the rules. There's rules to the chaos. We're going to show you a lot of chaos, but here's the rules. So it's sort of like a plan for life. Okay. And I guess thinking about it this past week, I have thought about it quite a bit. The rules then apply also to our fascination with sports. Not only in sports are we getting to see superior athletes compete against one another, and we get to weigh in with our opinion on whether or not we think that, one athlete is better than another athlete, even if they're from different generations. The boundaries in which they play in, we agree that the rules are similar. So, what rules do you have in your life that you deem as this is how this is going to be? And this other stuff can be chaos as long as this other stuff stays similar. Now, I say that because I'm watching a lot of different shows that have chaos involved and have this unknown element to it of you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know the rules. I'm watching a show called Shameless. It was pretty popular a while back. I'm sure a lot of people have watched it. I haven't. I am catching up now due to Netflix. It's a chaotic family that is impoverished. They have parents who are alcoholics and drug addicts, and there's various levels of mental handicaps and disabilities in their family that are making life even more challenging at every turn. Not to mention the fact that the various people in their life are also very fragile and broken and shameless in their own way. And at every part of this, we still find one of the main characters, Fiona, she's like the main character everybody's following, that she has a principle of rules that she sets for herself of things. I'm not going to cross this line, or I'm not going to cross that line. And then we watch her cross those lines at times and realize the repercussions of it sometimes are not favorable. And we have other characters throughout that we think, oh, well, they're not going to cross this boundary. And they always do. And I think that was sort of the point of the show is just when you think that some people couldn't steep it any lower than they go, they do. And sometimes it's on purpose and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just an accident. Sometimes you get distracted or you're tired or you're just exhausted from whatever the situation is. And you just go along with whatever is there in front of you because you're just trying to make sense of your own life and you're just trying to survive. So, yeah, those are the, I just thought about that as I was watching that show. Flight Attendant is back on HBO Max. I watched season 1. It's starring Kaylee Kuko from The Big Bang Theory. It's a very interesting first season. The second season is interesting in a different way. I don't know that they planned on the first season being such a huge success. And oftentimes you can tell when shows are written for more than one season because there's a streamlined outline, almost invisible to the viewer, of, oh, well, we dropped these little seeds in season one so that when season two comes out, it's gonna pay off, it's gonna flourish. And there are elements of that. Rosie Perez is in it, and her character has had some development. There's another guy in the show he's popped up later, and I'm sure it's gonna come out as to why. But there is an element of chaos in this, and rules that she's given herself and rules that she's crossing at all turns. There's also rules to what we deem as normal. And we're watching Hollywood now come up with more and more scenarios that challenge the viewer to pay attention a little closer. Like if you look down at your phone, you're going to look back up and go, wait, what just happened? Who are we looking at? Why is there three of the same person in the same scene? Why are they talking to each other? Is this supposed to be their fragile psyche fragmented and talking to each other? And that's kind of, there's an element of that in this show. They're putting them out 2 episodes per week, and I'm kind of enjoying it. My wife, was reading and glanced up, and she's like, I just like the first season better. I'm like, yeah, I haven't watched this season, but whatever. It is an interesting show. I'm kind of curious where they're going to take it. I like several of the actors that are in it. Kind of want to see what happens as they write these characters to have more depth and more, whatever you want to call it, feeling, warmth, color, vibrant. I don't know. I'm still watching the show on Amazon Prime called Outer Range. I mentioned before that I thought it was like Yellowstone meets Twilight Zone. Josh Brolin is in it, and he's, forever becoming more and more chaotic in the show. There is this hole in the ground that supposedly is linked to time itself. And yeah, there's a lady on there who's supposed to be on some medicine. They don't tell you what she's going through at first. She goes into a pharmacy and she says what kind of medicine she wants. And I Googled it really quickly because I didn't know how to spell it, but I like used the voice thing and hit the button. And it's some kind of medicine for people who are bipolar or have schizophrenia. So it's one of those things that's supposed to regulate her mood and attitude or something like that, but it's got really crazy side effects if you mix it with alcohol. And of course, she orders the medicine, she takes it, and then she meets a guy at a bar and continues to drink while she's taking it. So I'm like, oh, this will be interesting. But they did that in such a way that normally there is a conversation of, hey, I'm going to take this medicine because I suffer from this. And they're going to like explain it to you in the show. This one didn't do that. They just went ahead and said, yeah, I'm here for my prescription. And she says, and the lady says, there's side effects. She goes, yeah, I know. And I thought, okay, so they want us to do our homework here. And I did. So there you go. There's that little nugget for you if you're watching it. I'm not sure if I like the show yet. I'm watching it just because I've already invested a little time. I'm sure that they talked people into it because of the way they pitched it. They probably pitched it just the same as I pitched it to you, Yellowstone meets Twilight Zone. But we'll see what happens. I'm sticking with it. Also, there was a show that I watched on Amazon Prime a long time ago called Undone. And it starred Bob Odenkirk as a dad who had died while doing some research or whatever. He was like a scientist, and he was studying research on time travel and stuff like that. And he dies, and his daughter Alma grows up, and one day she has a conversation with him. He's just there, like almost like a dream, and he's conscious, and he's lucidly talking to her about how to figure out how he died, and that there's a thing in his family where certain people can travel through time if they just concentrate hard enough. And he teaches her how to do that. And she goes back in time and she changes time and she saves his life. And so season 2 continues with this story. And if you don't want me to spoil it, just skip past it. But most of you aren't going to watch it. So I'm just going to tell you what it is anyway. The show is done kind of like a cartoon, kind of like live action. They have a live action element of the way they recorded. and then they blend in a cartoonish drawing like overlay. Um, and I really think that's the only way you can do this, because there's elements where they travel through this cloud and they fall and they land at a door and they open the door and all kind of chaos appears, sort of like an MC Escher type thing with people and doors and stairwells that intertwine the way physics aren't supposed to move in, and they interact with all of it at a certain point, and they manipulate time in a way to repeat time over and over again to correct a mistake that can't seem to be corrected. Um, the show is brilliant, the way it's written and the way they portrayed it. I don't think that most people would take the time and effort to watch it. I think that even though the episodes are only like 25 minutes long, I think most people are just going to check out, especially in season 2, whenever they are trying to figure out some stuff with their mother, and their mother is from Mexico. And so there's Spanish subtitles. And then there's an element where Alma was born with a hearing problem. So she has a hearing aid. And when the hearing aid falls off, the family has learned to communicate to her through sign language. And so there's a sign language element. And I have my captions on and it's telling me all the stuff they're saying. And I don't know if they would do that even if I didn't have the captions on, but it's super helpful. Still, with all of that being said, the show is brilliant. It has an element of butterfly effect in it. If you haven't seen Butterfly Effect, I highly recommend seeing that. Ashton Kutcher's best movie, his best acting ever. Yeah, it's very butterfly effect. You change something, it changes a lot of things in the future. And then, yeah. So, again, rules, boundaries, things we understand about science fiction, how things are supposed to work. You follow these paths, this other thing happens. Maybe. But what if it doesn't? So, Undone is basically, let's undo all the things that have been done. Roughly, that's the rough sketch of the idea. What if we were able to time travel and, like the butterfly effect, undo some things? How would it change? What would your new timeline be? What would happen to your old timeline? That's the element that butterfly effect didn't talk about. And this one does. What happens in the old timeline? Sometimes you're meant to go through some things so that you better understand how to handle yourself on the path you were on originally. That was what I got from season 2. So, we've had some renovation stuff done around the house here lately. Local guy happened to knock on the door last Sunday, said he was cleaning some gutters and eaves and doing some pressure washing and whatnot. And he quoted me a really good price. And he came over and did it yesterday and did a really great job, and cleaned off the back porch. And in the process, I realized I still had a board that was weeping some sap out of it still. After 3 or 4 years of us having built this thing, I have scraped sap off and scraped sap off, and I'm like, where is this still coming from? It's still coming out of the wood. So we decided yesterday that we were going to pull that board up and replace it, and we did. And while he was here, he made a comment. And he said, "Hey, you probably want to put some stain back on this. That way it protects it." And I said, "Yeah, we kind of planned on that. We actually had talked about getting it cleaned first and then doing that." And he said, "Well, if you're interested in getting a quote, I can do that this afternoon. I'm cleaning your neighbor's place, and I can swing by here and give you a quote." And I was like, "Sure." And he did, and it was a good price. So he's going to come back and do that too. And I'll be putting videos up on YouTube so you guys can watch that stuff and see the difference. It's pretty amazing. But this sort of leans into what I was talking about before when I said that there was so much to do that I needed help. There is a large part of independence built into me. I mean, almost it is nurture and nature, both. I can do it myself. Let me figure it out. Let me do it. That is sort of ingrained in me. It's also ingrained in me the idea of being poor and having no choice but to do it yourself, which is how we grew up. Which is honestly, in my opinion, the best way to grow up, because you do learn how to be self-sufficient. You do learn how to do things. You gain knowledge, you gain experience. With that knowledge and experience becomes a certain level of satisfaction, and also a sense of who you are, a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, a sense of knowing that when things get crazy, you can still figure it out. And there is a lot of that I was willing to accept and take on at all times, where I was constantly saying, oh, yeah, I'll do that. Oh, yeah, I'll do this too. Oh, I'll take care of that. But it had got overwhelmed with me. It got too much. There was too much there. There was too much to pay attention to, too much to do, not enough time, not enough energy. Um, I talked a lot about self care during that time period. I talked a lot about the fact that I just needed a break. I needed some energy. I needed some time. I needed more of everything, and I didn't have it. And it felt good to have somebody just take care of this stuff. So, you know, while I'm happy doing these other things and taking care of most things, it was nice to hire somebody to do this other stuff. And I really would rather hire somebody to do the deck. I mean, I know I can do it. I have done it. Made videos, put them on YouTube. You guys have probably watched them. Um, but I think I just want somebody to do it. I think I'm willing to pay somebody to do it. I know I'm willing to pay somebody to do it. I've already agreed to it. So it is what it is. But it makes me wonder, what else in life are we sometimes putting off because we're overwhelmed by the options? My wife and I are talking about doing some other renovation projects around the house, and she made the comment. She goes, "Okay, first of all, I have to decide what I'm going to do." And I went, "Ooh, there's the hardest part, the deciding." Because there's a lot of options of things you can do and ways you can go. And if you make a mistake, then you're going to spend money and then look back on it later and go, why didn't I do it the other way? Right? There's that fear of, I've wasted time, I've wasted money, I haven't done the thing I wanted to do correctly. This is what I thought I wanted, and it didn't turn out the way I wanted. And life is kind of that way. We are always faced with things that we can't quite determine the outcome. And at a certain point, we just got to make our best guess and go with it. Sometimes people's lives are wasted in indecision. They spend their entire time worried about making the right decision, to the point that they actually don't take any action and they don't live their life. They don't do anything. Yeah. You're meant to take action. We're meant to do things. We're meant to live life. We're given this gift of life for a reason. And we just have to take hold of it and say, okay, here's where I want to go, and put one foot in front of the other and make it happen. And sometimes it's the right decision, sometimes it's not. All we can do is just start walking. Because if we don't, then we don't go anywhere. We don't do anything. We don't advance our life at all. I mean, what's a life without living? It's not really existing. Is it like a placeholder on a bookshelf? I mean, I think about the idea that there's people out there who maybe exist just to do one thing. And maybe they really enjoy doing that one thing. But are they happy doing that one thing? I don't know. I just know I couldn't be happy doing just one thing. Maybe that's some kind of fight or flight mechanism of existing or surviving through generations of life. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Something to think about, though, right? So, anywho, I am going to wrap this up early. Um, Next weekend is Mother's Day weekend, so plan ahead, guys. Be prepared. Call your mom. Tell her you love her. I mean, she did give birth to you and all. Oh, the guilt. Oh, it's overwhelming. Yep. So anyway, love you, Mom. Y'all take care. And if you want to be part of the podcast, reach out to me. I would love to have a conversation with you. We can talk about anything or nothing. Doesn't matter. We can make up a fake scenario where I ask you, if you had to be silverware, which piece of silverware would you be and why? Or if aliens abducted you and told you they could give you a superpower, what would you choose to have and why? Or if you got dropped into your favorite movie, which character would you like to be and why? And we could just play with it and have a good time. I mean, if you have that kind of brain, I mean, that's a challenge. I'll put that out there. Okay. Y'all take care. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. Check out all of the stuff that's on TV because I can talk about pretty much all of it. Not all of it, but pretty much all of it. And I'm going to end this by saying cue the cow. So cue the cow, baby.
So I want you guys to give me more likes. Give me more likes.